So my name is AnnaRose Bissitt, and I am here with Miss Snow and Dr. Bent, and we are going to talk about some of their craziest teaching stories. So do you want to introduce yourself, say anything?
Sure. My name is Miss Snow, and I teach theater and choir here at Pentucket. I teach grades 7 through 12.
Hello, I'm Dr. Bent, and I teach 11th and 12th grade English here at the high school.
Cool. So my first question is probably the most obvious question, but what is your guys' craziest teaching story?
Okay, so we were talking a little bit about this earlier, and we both student taught in New Hampshire, and it's a little different in New Hampshire than it is in Massachusetts, but I was just recalling this 10 minutes ago, that there was a student taught in a class for a high school class. It was for seniors who did not have an arts credit. And the whole purpose of the class was to basically get these seniors to graduate on time, but they were missing that arts credit and they weren't interested in theater or music or drawing or literally anything like that. So nobody wanted to be in this class. And my mentor teacher was an older woman, and she was just very frustrated with this class and could never get them to quite be motivated. And I did a lot of observing rather than teaching because I was still pretty young at that point. But I remember this kid was wearing a jacket. He's a senior, he's probably 18 years old, but he was wearing a jacket and he kept putting his hand on the breast of his jacket, inside, and touching it. And it was really obvious that he was meddling around with something in there. And my first thought was, oh, this could be dangerous. But she didn't really react that way. She was just like, what's in your jacket? And he opens it up. He opens up the vest, and it was a sugar glider, an animal. Do you know what those are?
Yeah.
Yeah, the flying little mice, squirrel things. Yes. So it was his pet. And he had brought it to school, and it was 5th period, so I don't know if he had it the whole day, and it was really stupid. Just taking and he had to go to the office, and all the kids in the class. It ruined the whole vibe of the class. But I remember that was just anything involving animals or kids bringing odd objects to school is really weird. Yeah. That's probably my weirdest memory.
I think I have a pet story. I was a student teacher in a middle elementary school. It was a combo school in New Hampshire, and I was in the first grade. I was supposed to be student teaching in the first grade, and they were short on subs that particular day. So I was going to, and it turned out I was going to be there for a couple of days. So I was trying to get to know all the students in the first grade. So we were talking about pets, and we were all chatting about it, and I was being really, really simple-minded about this. And I said, oh, wouldn't it be great if you could bring your pet to school? The next day, this little kid came up to me and said, my sister is here. We had a classroom that went to the outside. And she's here with my dog. Remember you said we could bring pets to school? And the sister was probably 16 and brought this gigantic German Shepherd with a muzzle on into my classroom. And I wasn't really sure what to do next.
A whole muzzle on? Oh my God.
Oh, it was a scary looking dog. Nice dog.
I love German Shepherds, but muzzle?
In a small child's class.
Yeah, a first grade classroom.
That's funny.
So this was did this happen when you both were student teachers, these stories?
Yeah. I feel you see a lot when you student teach and when you're in college because it's kind of an intro to your world and you meet a lot of people that you wouldn't meet normally. And
Yes.
I feel college is the time where you make mistakes, really make mistakes as a teacher. So, there were some silly things. I also had an instance where I was a sub. When I was a student teacher, I absolutely should not have been. I don't think I signed any documents to be a sub. I definitely did not get paid to do it. And I was in charge of 70 kids. Yes. And it was so my student teaching was weird because I am certified K through 12 for theater. I had to work with all different ages. So I would spend like my afternoons at the high school, and then I would bop over to the elementary school in the district and do like run an after school program with this other teacher. But the after school program wasn't really a theater program, but there was like times where I could have broken off into groups and done like little theater activities or whatever, or workshops. And that teacher just like was not there one day. And they were like, oh yeah, you're running this. And it was 70 kids after school. And it was 70 like kindergarten through fourth graders. I did not know these kids well. There was no relationship established. I'm pretty sure it was like the second week of student teaching. So they didn't know me. They didn't care about me. There was nothing. And I was in charge of 70 kids, and I had to make sure they all got to their parents because it was an after school thing. So at like 5 o'clock, I had to make sure that every child got into their right cars. I didn't have any information on these kids. I didn't know anything about them. And looking back, like I was 20 years old. That's so dangerous. And just not, and then I never, again, like I said, not compensated for it. Yeah, it was really, really weird.
That's crazy.
Kind of terrifying,
like,
honestly.
Yeah, because one of my friends like works at the after school program, and like she was just telling me about how like they had to go on a full lockdown just because of like one like person that came, and I was just like, and that's like crazy to hear about. Like literally 10 years ago, your school was like, oh yeah, whatever.
Yeah, it's important to like the safety thing was like so thrown out the window at that point. And like I said, I was a kid. I didn't have a teaching certification. I had no business being in charge of all of these children.
So like in these stories, what's like the thing that like, what's your like favorite part, or like something that like stood out to you the most that was just like, wow, okay.
I can remember a time it was student teaching, and student teachers get all of the rotten jobs. Like if you get everybody else's duties.
Yeah, like grading and photocopies and
being like lunch monitor.
Yeah, things like
and
that.
Outside. So I was outside with a group of kids. That was during a recess. Little kids. I was in charge of all the children that got in trouble. So I was supposed to entertain them on the side. And one little girl was standing there, and she said, "Oh, that's my cousin over there. Can I go see whoever it was?" And I said, "No, you need to stay with me." And she was getting agitated, so I said, "Well, is it a cousin on your mother's side or your father's side?" And she said, "Both."
Oh.
And I had nowhere to go.
I feel like I definitely have stories, but like I remember one time a little, like it was always like the little ones, but middle schoolers also have really fun stories too, but I could write a book about the things that middle schoolers say. But yeah, I remember at that same like after school thing, after I had been established for a couple months, like all the kids who were signed up for the theater portion of it weren't there that day, or there was a field trip or something. I just remember being alone with like 3 kindergarteners, and everybody else was not there. And they put on like a full production of Frozen for me in the like 2 hours, my after school program. Like they had costumes in their backpack and like put them on and just sang the entire score of Frozen. And I was just sitting there like, yes, good. This is great. And I had nothing else to do. Like no one was giving me any direction. I had nothing. And they just did the whole thing for me. And I was like, sure, this is my job, I guess. And I remember writing about it in my like log that I had to do for class and being like, yeah, I really learned so much today.
A lot about Frozen.
Yeah, that was like right around the time that it came out too. So I was very impressed that they had the whole thing memorized.
Do you think that like any like of these like silly stories, not like more serious stories, but do you think any of these like silly stories have like not like affected, but like kind of like made you like reroute your like teaching style?
Yeah. I think that there's a lot of things that now, as like 10 years into my career, I think that I don't take as seriously that I would have taken very, very seriously when I was younger. It's just easier to let things roll off your back. Like I don't sweat the small stuff anymore. There's a lot of things that are much more important that happen at school than like silly little mistakes or just a bunch of stuff. It's I think that I've become a little bit more, what's word. Like, ooh,
Oh my.
Uh-oh.
10th graders, please go right to your MCAS.
10th graders go to
At
MCAS.
7:35. Thank you.
But yeah, I think I've become not looser, but definitely less rigid. I think, like, less strict. I don't know what the word is.
Well, I know I've had a bunch of different student teachers with me. And I always think back to all of my student teaching, and I try not to give them all my duties. I also try to impart what Brooke said, don't beat yourself up over like the little things.
Yeah.
Worry about the big things, get to
Right.
know the kids, be careful what you say, don't invite any pets into the
No.
classroom.
Unless it's one of the dogs that work here.
Yes.
They're welcome to come in anytime. Yeah, I think it's important too that like part of the reason why student teaching is good is that you learn that not every lesson is going to be the most successful lesson that you've ever taught. And I think when I was like 21, 22, 23 years old, my lesson plans had to look absolutely perfect. Everything had to be really regimented. I had to follow this guideline, this guideline, this guideline, this guideline. And now that I'm like fully working in the field that I want to work in, you realize, you didn't have enough time to finish this project, or you didn't explain something well enough, or you didn't do this. And like, not everything is going to be exactly the way that you pictured it when you planned it out. And I think that's, you just have to be patient with yourself and be patient with your students.
I agree, yes.
Yeah, I feel like when I was like doing the TAing stuff for you
Yeah.
last semester, I feel like it was very chill with like the lesson plans. Like I would come in and you'd just be like, what musicals should we talk about for Musical Monday? And I'm like, it's
Yeah.
Musical Monday.
Yeah, it also like with my topic in particular, it depends on the class, because my 7th graders they have to take this class. They're not most of the kids that I teach in 7th grade don't really have any interest in continuing on with theater or the arts, but it's a good way to kind of see what their interests are and appeal to them specifically,
Yeah.
and not be as rigid.
I think that I like that they do that where the 7th graders, like they make them like take classes.
Yeah.
'Cause I think a lot of people like would be surprised at how much they enjoy things.
Yeah, I think so too. I think
It's
a good
really,
thing.
it's
Yeah.
important to kind of
Yeah.
Yeah.
test the waters for everything, so you
Right.
know what you want to do.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have to go teach that right now in 5 minutes.
Well, let's wrap it up then.
Cool.
Well, thank you so much for talking. This was really fun to like hear about. I did not expect sugar gliders. I didn't even
Oh
know.
yeah, no, I completely forgot about it until like 10 minutes ago.
I didn't even know that was like legal. It's like,
It probably wasn't.
I don't think it was. Well, everything's legal. in
Correction.
Hello.
Miss Whalen, please report to the main office. Miss
MCAS.
Whalen to the main office. Thank you.
all right. Well,
Bye.
bye.
All right,
Thank you so
you.
much.
Thank you.